The evolution of Colby Covington has been one of the most fascinating things to witness in all of MMA. From a relative unknown to one of the most controversial fighters today, I couldn't stop but think of one fictional character, Mr. Walter White. Now, we know Walter White from Breaking Bad, and all the MMA hardcores know who Covington is. Let's decipher these characters and see how similar their paths were. Colby Covington was a relative unknown in the MMA up until just a couple of years ago. He mostly fought in the prelims or in Asia, and barely anyone paid attention to these fights. It was not that Colby Covington was a bad fighter back then. In fact, he was and is one of the most well-rounded fighters in the UFC. With cardio for days to outmatch any competition, Division 1 wrestling base, record-breaking striking numbers, Covington has all the potential to be a champion for a long time. But this is not how the UFC saw him. Without a single performance bonus to his name, Covington was considered a boring fighter. With a lack of perceived charisma, the UFC just wanted to cut him. A few years back, Covington was roommates with the greatest light heavyweight of all time, John Jones. He was training partners with Jorge Masvidal, the BMF himself, the Street Jesus. Covington was also a training partner for the likes of Tyron Woodley and Robbie Lawler when they were champions. A stroll down Colby's page on Instagram is enough evidence to understand the kind of man that he is. Motivational quotes and post-sparring images with fellow fighters filled his page. And this very same guy turned into one of the most controversial fighters today. Or was he forced to? Now, Walter White. Walter White was supposed to be one of the best brains in chemistry and should have gone on to win a Nobel Prize or whatever science prize is out there. But Mr. White failed to realize his potential early on, was too timid to portray his own geniuses, and had lived a life of what ifs and if onlys. He accepted his role as a chemistry teacher to high school students who did not give two F's about what he was teaching, worked a second blue-collar job at a car wash, and had accepted life as it was. The terminal cancer and the desperation to leave some money for his family was the last straw to finally do something. Colby Covington could have been very well on the same path as Walter White. Covington could have accepted his fate that the UFC would cut him and could have gone on to some second-tier promotions or some regional shows, while his confidence in the UFC could have gone on to earn thousands and even millions of dollars. The fighters he believed that he could beat could be considered greats, and the one with a 50-50 record could be idolized as once in a lifetime. But Colby decided that this was not the path that he would go down. Covington had to fight to keep his dreams alive of being a UFC fighter and also prove that he's one of the best in the world. Just like Walter White had to cook meth to make money to take care of his son and his neural medications and also a newly born daughter. Walter White wanted to make just a few thousands to ensure safety for his family after he was gone. But the smell of money and newfound sense of self that he was the man would eventually turn him into the killer Heisenberg. Covington similarly started an act to make himself relevant in the UFC and save his job. But the newfound notoriety, the visibility that he started gaining through the act that he put on, has turned him into one of the most controversial fighters today. Now, is Covington solely responsible? Partially, yes, but more so, UFC, the promotion, who wanted to unfairly cut him, the media, who ignored him initially but completely hyped him up later on, the fans, who started DMing him hate messages, fellow fighters who disdained or encouraged this particular act, gave Colby a shimmer of hope that he was being noticed and made him realize that he could be a controversial star, so big enough that he never could have initially thought of himself. Here was a man who wanted to just be a champion and wanted to show that he belonged with his own way of fighting, but the thought of getting cut from the UFC and not being able to realize his lifelong dream of being a UFC champion turned him into what he is today. Does one ever think if they had left Colby to just fight and him not having to worry about putting on a persona, the shit talking, and instead spent all his time training, how better could he be? As Walter White states in El Camino, while deeply pondering about life and stuff, Colby Covington is one lucky bastard who did not have to wait his entire life to do something special. Now, imagine a 50-year-old Covington sitting all by himself in a room and realizes that he was never a UFC champion and had let the promotion unfairly cut him. Life and desperations, huh? What are we all doing while we have all this time in the world? Thank you.